Welcome in to Outkick the Show. I appreciate all of you spending your Monday with me. I have been down at my new beach house for the last week. I am now back at home. I will be here basically for all of April and May till I go back down to the beach house for a couple of weeks. Not to brag, not the kind of guy who draws attention to himself, but I do have a beach house. And it's glorious. It's actually outstanding. But you work hard like I do. You wake up at 4:15 every morning. You can have a beach house one day too. Let's go ahead and roll right into the stories of the day, boys and girls. So much to get to here. So much. Let's roll. I want to tell you right now, the numbers are adjusting on the fly as we speak. I just did a Sportsbook Review live video with Kelly in Vegas and Teddy Covers. Most recent numbers, Nova -7, over under 144.5 or 145. I'm telling you right now, go to Sportsbook Review right now and make sure that you get as good of a possible number as you can so that you can take advantage of the best numbers out there. That's sportsbookreview.com. Also, my good friends at thehomeloanexpert.com. The Home Loan Expert. It's officially spring, even if there's snow in New York and snow on the East Coast. It's kind of cold everywhere. I got to go coach 7- and 8-year-old baseball tonight. I got to tell you, it's time to get hooked up with a great mortgage. Go check out my guy Ryan Kelly at thehomeloanexpert.com. Early news here. Early news. Going to write more about it and talk more about it soon, but we are planning the first ever Outkick the Coverage weekend in Las Vegas, and right now the plan is to do it the final weekend in August. Limited space. We're going to have a lot of awesome speakers, a lot of awesome events surrounding it. I want to make it a yearly event. More details coming on this soon, but it's one of billion things that I am working on right now, and I am telling you that you're going to want to sign up. Go ahead and block out some days on your calendar. Go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to spend Thursday, Friday, Saturday with Outkick out in Vegas right before college football and the NFL starts. Tell your wives, tell your girlfriends, get the hall pass, do whatever you got to. I'm telling you months in advance. Get the band back together, get the boys, all right? All of that to get together. It's going to be awesome. Somebody just said Vegas in August. Yikes. You know who talks like that? Mosquito dicks. Because guys with big swinging helicopter dicks know that August is peak Vegas pool season, and there is nothing better at all than Vegas pool season, which is basically the entire reason why Las Vegas exists. If you think, oh, it's hot in Las Vegas in August, I don't want to go, that's mosquito dick thinking. You should be going out to the pools. And you know what? I don't have a great pool body, but you know what I've got? Money. And do you know what's more important than having a great pool body if you are a guy? Having money. Because do you know what girls would prefer? Would they rather hang out with the fat guy at the pool who has an awesome cabana and can throw an awesome party? Or would they rather hang out with the rich dude who's not able to afford, the ripped guy who can't afford the cabana? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess what good-looking girls prefer? They prefer the cabana and the exclusive pool party access as opposed to being a ripped young dude. It's better to be an old fat dude than it is a ripped young dude. Now, you may not feel as good when you look in the mirror, but women don't see your boobs, man boobs, as much if you're rich. At least I'm told. All right, so much to get to, so much to discuss. I'm just giving you guys a heads up that we're going to have a Vegas weekend, the first ever, and if nobody shows up, I'll have a great time by myself. All right, that's the truth. We got a bunch of different subjects to get to. One, Nova, Michigan is happening tonight, the national title game. And I'm not the kind of guy who likes to brag. Hate to draw attention to myself, but Villanova and Michigan was my pick to play in the national title game. So I don't know how many other prognosticators out there. I don't know how many people who try to make a living talking and writing about sports were as much of a genius as I was, but pretty much I'm a genius. I picked the game itself perfectly, and I told you back then Nova was going to win, and I'm sticking with Nova to win. I'm also sticking with Nova to cover the 7 and go 6-0 against the number and have one of the most dominant runs in the history of the NCAA tournament. So far through 5 games, Nova has won 5 times by 12 or more points. This is one of the most dominant runs since the Florida Gators of Joakim Noah and Udonis Haslem back in, I believe, 06, got on a tear and ran roughshod through the entirety of the NCAA tournament as part of the first of 2 national titles that the Gators won. This is that level of dominance, despite the fact that my wife is a Michigan fan, and despite the fact that I think it's more likely that she will sleep with me on a random Monday night in April if Michigan wins. I'm telling you right now, I'm on Villanova -7. Now, I got them actually at 6.5, and I gave it out this morning. Now, there could also be some emotional hedging here. It doesn't really matter to me who wins this game. If I lose the bet, odds are my wife might sleep with me anyway because she'll be excited because she's a Michigan grad and because Michigan will have won a title, which, by the way, will only be the 3rd title and only the 2nd undisputed title that Michigan has won since 1948. I think this is a fascinating debate topic. Who is the most overrated team in all of sports? I think Michigan might be number 1. Because if you go back historically, Michigan was very good before the forward pass existed. Since 1948, Michigan football has won 1/2 of a national championship. Since right after World War II, I want you to think about this with me, Michigan split in 97 with Nebraska. That's the only football title they've won, and so far they have only won 1 national title in basketball, and that's in 1989. So since 1948, you could be 70 years old, and you could be rooting your ass off for Michigan tonight, and you would have seen 1.5 titles in your lifetime. Given the amount of attention that Michigan gets on the national stage, I'm not sure any program in America consistently wins less than Michigan. Notre Dame is really the only other team I can see an argument for, but Notre Dame at least has won a lot of titles since 1978. Other teams that are out there that you think are overrated. Can anybody beat Michigan? Can anybody beat the Michigan Wolverines? LSU has won multiple titles in the 21st century. Are you kidding me? There's no way that LSU is overrated relative to Michigan. Tennessee gets a fraction of the attention that Michigan gets, and Tennessee has won 2 titles since 1948, so they've actually won more national titles. So that doesn't count either. Tennessee has been more successful on the national stage than Memphis. I mean, I think that's the truth. Nova, if they win tonight, will have more national titles in the last 3 years than Michigan has in the last 70. I want you to think about how crazy of a stat that is. If Jay Wright wins tonight, then in the last 3 years, Michigan will have more national titles in men's basketball and football, and they don't even play football, than the University of Michigan has in the past 70. USC won a lot of titles. USC won a lot of titles. I think it's Michigan. I think Michigan is the most overrated team in the history of college or pro. Pro is easier because there's fewer teams that can win titles, but I think Michigan's potentially most overrated. I think certainly Jim Harbaugh is the most overrated coach ever. Texas has won more titles, more relevant. Anyway, I think this is interesting, a great debate, a great topic. I'm on Nova -6.5. I gave it out to you this morning. I'm not touching the over-under because I don't have a good sense at what pace this game is going to be played. I think if Nova comes out and scores, Michigan can't keep pace with them and they win going away. I think regardless, Nova, I like their odds to cover. I think Michigan, if you look at it, does not have the horses to score with Nova if both teams are shooting hot. We'll see what happens. I'm telling you right now, I am going with Nova -7. I'm not touching the over-under because I think Michigan could try to slow this game down and try to play it in the 60s because I think that's actually John Beilein and Michigan's best chance to actually go out and win. I think they play slow. I think they play defense. I'm telling you right now, Nova -7 is the play. Several different other details to get into. ESPN Plus is launching. ESPN Plus is launching on April 12th, right? I guess in time for the NBA playoffs. I don't know why they're launching on April 12th. And they are going to try something interesting. I think this is a great business experiment. If your kids out there watching this or listening to this show, and you're in college and you're taking business classes and you're bored to death, this would be a fascinating angle to examine. What is ESPN going to be able to accomplish with ESPN Plus? They are charging $4.99 a month for all the programming that's not good enough to get on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN News, the SEC Network, or the Longhorn Network. All of those different networks have tons of programming on. This will be the additional programming that ESPN has that is not good enough to get on all of those networks. Is there a marketplace out there for people that will pay $4.99 a month for this? I will be stunned by it. This is why it's a great business study. If you are intrigued by what the future of sports is going to be, you're a young guy or girl out there watching and listening to this, the battle between ESPN and Netflix is going to define in many ways the success of sports media in the generations ahead, because it's really about Disney versus Netflix. Netflix has not aggressively gone into sports yet. Maybe they never will. My argument was Netflix should have bought the UFC, and also that Netflix should have bought the WWE. I still think they should buy the WWE. Okay? My argument for why they should do that was I would roll the WWE network into all of the programming offerings of Netflix, and then as part of your Netflix subscription, I'm a $10 a month subscriber to the WWE. As part of your Netflix subscription, you would get WrestleMania, you would get Royal Rumble, you get SummerSlam, you get all of those different details, which I think are potentially pretty awesome. All of that would be really cool. But I don't think that they are going to actually do it. So, as a result, a lot of people don't understand this, and I think it's because people are confused, because it is a little bit confusing. ESPN Plus is everything that you don't get on Watch ESPN now, that you now have to pay for. So it's not as if you can say, oh, you know what, I'll just pay $5 a month and I'll get all of ESPN's programming. No. You have to pay $5 a month on top of everything that you already pay for in order to get this offering. I think this is going to be a colossal failure by ESPN, because I don't think there are that many people out there that want to pay $60 a year for additional ESPN content that's not good enough to air on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN News, SEC Network, all their other programming. On top of this, I want to circle back around. They launched this new show, this Get Up show. I didn't see it because I'm on the radio doing my own live show at the same time. They are spending $15 million on salaries for this show. $6.5 million for Mike Greenberg, $5 million for Michelle Beadle, $3 million for Jalen Rose. I have no idea how they are going to make that money back with an audience of around 300,000 or 400,000 people every single morning, especially because mornings are getting entirely competitive. FS1 has a morning show that nobody watches. Good Morning Football is doing pretty well on the NFL Network. I just tweeted out what I've been told by a bunch of different people. The NBC Sports Network is bumping Dan Patrick and Mike Florio off of the NBC Sports Network television show, and they are going to be doing their own morning show version. So that would mean that in the space of 2 years, you would have 4 brand new morning shows. Now, how exactly that show will do, what it will look like, everything else associated with it, I'm not sure. All I know is I do my morning show. I don't watch any of these shows. I have them on in the studio to be able to see, kind of make sure I'm not missing a story. But it's not like I sit around watching these shows because I do my own show for 3 hours. But I do question how many different people out there are going to start their day watching a sports show on television with 4 different networks all competing. I think this is all copycat because they've seen that Good Morning Football works. and they're all trying to create their own copycat shows now. So the NFL Network had a successful show. Then FS1 decided they were going to launch a show, which nobody watches. And then you have the ESPN show, which probably is not going to be that much watched. And then you also have a show which will now, I'm told, be debuting on NBC Sports Radio. Now, I think about my audience. I'm on the air. We've got a good and growing radio show audience. My people are in their car, or they're downloading the podcast, or they're doing whatever they do because they're not sitting in front of the television. They're starting their day. I think most people start off their day still getting in the country, getting into a car, and driving somewhere to work where they might have a television in their office, but you have to be pretty high up on the employment flow chart to have a television in your office, or you have to work in media. There's not that many people who get the opportunity to walk into work and then they got a bunch of banks of television screens to be able to see what exactly is going on there. I think where we're headed, and I've been making this argument for a long time, is that you will get in your car, and some of you are already there, and you'll say, play Clay Travis. Hopefully a lot of you will say it. Hopefully millions of you one day will get into your car and say, play Clay Travis. Play the latest Clay Travis. And I think your AM, FM signals and everything else are going to matter less because your car is going to be so networked that it's just going to be you making a choice about who you listen to, right? That's my theory in general. In the meantime, I'm on 300 AM, FM stations nationwide, all 50 states, Sirius satellite radio, everything else. My game plan, just so you guys know it, is to build my audience over the next several years until we get to the point where technology is so prevalent that when you get into your car, which will be driving you yourself, you'll just say, I want Clay Travis to entertain me for the next half hour. And I will come on, and it might be video, it might be radio, it'll be me being able to tell you and talk about the newest stories of the day, and distribution will matter less and less. In other words, for a long time, what mattered was distribution. And this was the gamble that ESPN made. They said the network matters more than the talent does. And I'll tell you what, Colin Cowherd and Skip Bayless have thrown that completely on its face. Because Colin Cowherd now has the most listened to podcast in all of sports talk radio. His audience followed him to his podcast. They didn't need him to be on ESPN radio anymore. And I think my audience is going to follow me wherever I go. This was the bet that I made back in 2011 when I decided to start my own website. I was talking to Yahoo. I was talking to CBS. I was talking to NBC, all those places I could have written for. And I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to just roll the dice. I'm just going to roll the dice, and I'm going to go out completely on my own. And it was a really smart decision. And some of you out there, love these podcasts that are on for 30 minutes, 3 days a week. This is a joke, all right? Podcast is a different dynamic than a radio show. There aren't that many people, and I heard Howard Stern taking shots about this the other day too. There aren't that many people that can sit down in front of a mic and be good for 3 hours every day. There are a lot of people who cannot live record a podcast for 35 minutes with 15 minutes worth of it being a guest 3 days a week. I look at these podcast numbers out there and they're great. Fine. That's fine. It's a different dynamic. You're never going to have, for the most part, I don't think, people who are good at podcasting are not the same people who are going to be great at live radio. Because live radio requires a different set of skills and talents to sit down in front of a mic for 3 hours and be completely live versus a podcast where you can stop, you can start, you can schedule a guest, you can decide something worked or it didn't work. I'm dancing on a razor's edge every single day. I'm dancing on a razor's edge every single day for 15 hours a week total. There aren't very many people who can do what I do. There just aren't. The skill set for what I do is incredibly low. And so this is the truth. A lot of you are ball handlers. You're ball cuddlers out there. You feel the need to blow balls, to put big dicks in your mouth and start sucking them for media people that you like. The truth of the matter is this. There aren't that many people who have a skill set to do what I do. And there's even fewer that are younger than me. So I'm in a pretty good spot. But I think I'm ready for whatever the technology is going to be in the future or what the technology is going to be now. This is the truth. And so I think this iteration here, going Periscope and Facebook Live, like I've been doing for the past couple of years, is actually the next iteration of podcasting. If you're starting to see media catching up, CBS now has a live 24-hour network. You've got NBC that I think is launching one. All these different networks are starting to do it. And so as a result, that's where everything is headed. And I think ultimately, this has been my argument for a long time, what matters is the name on the back of your jersey, not the name on the front of your jersey. So I think we're not going to be that long. We're not that far away. And again, I think it's a fascinating study. This is why I was saying it's a good article to write. ESPN's a quintessential example. They said, we make the stars aren't made by us. Okay? And as a result, they didn't pay big dollars for their talent. They let them leave. And now you're starting to recognize that what matters is not the distribution or the network. It's the individual talent, and everything else is secondary. Now, you can argue that it's harder to do what I did now, where you start off literally with a readership of 0 and build it into an audience of millions of people a week, which is what we do with the radio show, with the podcast, with the Periscopes, with the writing, with everything else. You can argue that's harder to do now than ever before. But the truth of the matter is, individual talent, once you create an audience, you can leave. Yes, we do millions of people a week. I don't know why would that be shocking? Look at the number of people who will watch this show. Consider that I'm on 300 AM FM stations nationwide. Consider that my website does millions of readers a month. Like, I don't understand how you can even be upset by that. And by the way, I'm going to have to block this dude. Like, people who comment on the number of viewers any individual moments, it's really, you're not very smart. Like, think about the larger universe. Think about how media works. Ask yourself this. Why is Clay Travis dunking on everyone? People also listen to the podcast. Millions of people listen to the podcast. I mean, is it really that hard for you to contemplate that we would have an audience in the millions? I do 15 hours of live radio on 300 stations nationwide. That this show will do hundreds of thousands of viewers over the course of a week. That we will do some weeks, some days, 1 million readers on Outkick. Like, come on. This is the truth. Just trying to share the truth here. All right, the latest. LeBron. LeBron is threatening to sue Alabama, and I swear to God, I can't believe this story is real. I'm going to read exactly to you what LeBron James is doing. And Alabama would be so much more of a legitimate news, like sympathetic character here if they hadn't made the decision to be so dumb when they came after me. It's pretty crazy. This is the story here. LeBron James is threatening to sue Alabama. If you haven't heard this, LeBron James is threatening to sue Alabama over the fact that, here's the open. This is a story from one of LeBron's professional ball handlers at ESPN. These are literally the guys who are paid to walk around holding LeBron James's balls all day long, every day. ESPN's got a bunch of these people. One of them wrote this. Cleveland Cavaliers all-star LeBron James has an issue with University of Alabama football coach Nick Saban. Last week, the official Twitter account for Alabama football released a trailer for Shop Talk with Alabama alum Julio Jones joining Saban and other football players for an off-the-cuff roundtable discussion in a barbershop setting. James previously released 2 installments of the web series The Shop, featuring he and business associates having conversations while having, this is ridiculous, this is a real story. On Monday, they sent a letter to Alabama addressing concerns over copyright infringement and intellectual property appropriation. I swear to God, this is real. The Shop was developed, your continued exploitation of Shop Talk infringes uninterrupted copyright, trademark rights, and other valuable intellectual property rights in the Shop and significantly damages uninterrupted. The letter goes on to invite a conversation with Alabama before rushing into legal proceedings. This is absolutely ridiculous. First of all, Coming to America began the barbershop sports conversation on a national scale. So if anybody's going to sue, it should be Eddie Murphy. Secondly, this same exact show before LeBron did it, Fox Sports did it. LeBron James is trying to argue that he has a copyright and intellectual property surrounding all conversations about sports that are televised or published in some way inside of a barbershop. This is literally one of the dumbest legal arguments I have ever seen. Also, LeBron James is not even remotely correct. And also, his attorneys are idiots for making this claim. And I say this as somebody who got a cease and desist from Alabama. If you remember, Alabama threatened to sue me over my Aloha Bitches t-shirts in honor of Tua Tagovailoa and the Alabama title, in the same way that we honor Marcus Mariota. This was so dumb. If Alabama hadn't threatened me, I would be so much more on the side of Alabama here. But as I told them at Alabama at the time, sue me, bitches. Bring it. Because I would love nothing better than to get sued by the University of Alabama and dunk on them. It's been a long time since Tennessee beat Alabama in anything. It'd be great to be a Tennessean who got back into the winning streak against Alabama. So Alabama backed down. They acknowledged that they were being losers. It's hard. Lots of people get intimidated when lawyers threaten them. This is why I got to tell you that you can't intimidate another lawyer by threatening legal action, because I'm a lawyer and I'll just point out that your argument has no merit and that I'm not afraid of you. So that's the truth. That is the truth. And Alabama got dunked on by me. Now LeBron James is trying to get back at it. This is just ridiculous. All right. Additional stories. This is additional stories. Not the kind of guy to complain about being rich, but I got to say, this new beach place that I bought, a lot more work than I anticipated. We've got a place in Rosemary Beach now, down in Florida. Best beaches in America are on 30A, which is a road between Destin and Panama City Beach. What I am calling it is the Southern Hamptons. It's the Southern Hamptons down here. It's rich, high-end, hot wives, hot chicks everywhere. It is awesome. I'm going to do 2 or 3 months a year there, and I'm going to continue to do everything that I do. Won't really make much of a difference to you guys. I'll have a backdrop there. You won't be able to tell anything. But I'm in the process of having to fill up this brand new place. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of work involved in having a beach house. I didn't really think about it. You know, I had the regular house. Which has I got 8,000 square foot here. I got 8,000 square foot. I got a lot of space to fill here, and we filled it all up. And now I got the beach house. And so now I've got to fill up the beach house, and there's a lot of details to take care of. So, I mean, I'm not the kind of guy who wants to bring a lot of attention on himself or say, woe is me. I've got to fill up my multi-million-dollar beach place, and I got to make sure that I get all the details done. But I forgot about all this work. Like, I got to get the television set up. I got to go buy a ton of televisions. I got to get all this stuff done. A lot of work involved. And the truth of the matter is it's going to be a lot to do. But, I struggle through. I fight hard. I don't allow other people to actually worry me. And in the process, your boy is going to triumph. Got to buy all sorts of new artwork. We just bought a new piece of artwork. I'll show you one of the artworks for the new place. Wife is out shopping. Got a lot of different things to put up. In the place. I'll show you. You can tell me whether or not you like this artwork. This is one that we just bought. Now, my wife liked it. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an art guy. Can you see the artwork here? We were doing all the art shopping. I don't even know if you can see this because the reflection from the light's tough. That's a big easel. That's what rich people do now. We go around and we buy art. I'm like, oh, I think this art would look good on this wall. You can't see it. Well, it's tough break. At some point, maybe I'll give you a tour of the new beach place. As a rich person, I got to go around and look at art now. Never been an art guy before. It's one of the challenges of buying a beach place is you got to go find the right artwork to put on your beach place walls. And frankly, I just don't know. All right. I love all of you. Much to discuss. We'll be back on Tuesday, live tomorrow morning, breaking down the national title game. I'm on Villanova -6.5. If Villanova wins, I win money and covers. If Michigan wins, my wife's more likely to sleep with me. Here's the challenge. If Michigan covers, but Villanova still wins, it's a really tough spot to be in. That's where I don't want to be. All right. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. Thanks for hanging. This has been Outkick the Show. Be live tomorrow morning, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. AM, FM, 300 stations, all 50 states. Sirius 218, XM channel 202. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for rolling with Outkick. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I got to go and write my book. It's going to be out in September. See y'all.